You're always late to the party.
All right, welcome back everybody to the Oriental Scoop. My name is Ali, and here with me is Mu'taz, and we have our special guest today on our episode titled Palestinians in Lebanon, the lines blurred.
Or blurred lines.
Or blurred lines.
Blurred lines is a song.
So what makes, her name's Leen, what makes Leen so special?
Thank you for introducing me.
Let me tell you what makes Leen special. These cups, you got us our first merch.
You deserve it.
They do be looking bussin'. That didn't sound right.
Okay. Wow.
Anyways, so I wanted Leen to actually introduce herself this episode. So please, Leen, tell us about yourself.
Well, you're a regular Palestinian girl living in Lebanon, living with the same situations everyone's living in. 24-year-old AUB graduate, so yay. Finished my master's in public health, health management and policy, and currently working at the American Near East Refugee Aid. So that's me in a nutshell.
Okay. And can you tell us a bit about, so you were born here?
Born here, born and raised.
Born and raised. So what was your upbringing like?
Oh, that's a tumultuous background. Well,
tumultuous.
Yes, tumultuous. You cannot be the grammar checker.
No, I'm not checking. I'm just impressed.
The big sat words that I usually use on the podcast.
100%. Yeah, I learned from your book. Khalas. We learned from Ali all the time. Well, upbringing was very difficult. I was the type of girl that never fit in, still doesn't, still figuring out where I am, where do I belong, where's my crew, where are my people. I try my best to change who I am to fit into a certain category of people, the popular, the nice, the smart,
niche.
A certain niche, attracting certain backgrounds. But that was detrimental, and that's because I don't know who I am. So if you ask me, who are you, without the fancy words or where you graduated from or what is your father working as, without the pre-recorded chats, you would just say, I don't know. Who are you? Can you answer that question?
Yes, I'm Mu'taz. So tell me, do you feel that your Palestinian background plays a role in your trouble finding identity?
Of course, because I wasn't the type of refugee that lives in a camp. You know how they see you? They live in camps. They live in a 2 meter squared house, and I'm like, no, I didn't have to experience that at all, and that was due to my father's hard work and efforts.
So just to clarify,
yeah,
do most Palestinians live in Palestinian refugee camps, or is that not the case?
That's the majority, because they can't afford. We basically live from the UNRWA, UNRWA for short. But right now, people are moving out of, because it's condensed. It's unlivable. I can speak about the terrible living conditions of living in a refugee camp. And it just gets worse and worse, specifically in winter seasons. And we'll discuss this maybe later on, but I didn't live that, so I don't want anyone to assume that I did. I didn't have that experience.
Would you consider yourself privileged?
Of course. I believe there are refugees and there are host country residents, and then there's the in-betweeners. We are the in-betweeners, the privileged refugees.
So do you live in a proper home?
Yeah, it's an apartment right on, literally this one. It's normal. We have electricity. We have water supply.
You have electricity?
We have water supply. It's amazing. Yeah, and we never thought that, you say, oh man, everyone has them. No, not everyone does. And it took me a huge amount of time to understand that not everyone has. These amenities aren't just given to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized this very recently. It didn't happen beforehand. When you were younger, no. I went into this life knowing, okay, you're just Palestinian. What did that mean? That didn't have. I went to school and I'm there yeah, I'm Palestinian. I was the only Palestinian. I went to a private school. I didn't have to go to a public school because my dad was able to afford it. But of course, with hardships, he was able to afford it. And I thought I belonged. I really, truly did. And then comes Independence Day.
Yeah.
Means nothing to me. What is Independence Day? Are we really independent? So these questions keep coming up. I'm saying, no.
What about, for example, when they play the national anthem, the Lebanese national anthem in schools? Does it resonate with you or not?
No, I never felt like standing in line and
Hold
saying...
up, does it resonate with you?
Oh,
Of course it does.
of course it does.
Have you memorized it? I have memorized it complete.
Oh, shoot.
Shit.
You have you?
Call me there.
Ouch. No. It doesn't... I mean, I'm happy that we are virtually free or independent country. But am I really part of this country? Or when anything happens, oh my God, it's the refugees' fault. These people, go back to your country. Oh yeah, just let me like call up my president who I didn't even elect and then go back to Israel.
Yes, especially with the advent of the Syrian crisis, I think
It's getting worse.
the perception of refugees has worsened over the years since
100%.
2012, let's say.
100%. And it just gets worse because now they just go ahead and like, the refugees. It's not just Syrians anymore.
Yeah.
The refugees. If something goes wrong, like for example...
It's everyone's fault.
Yeah,
it's all the refugees'
It's all the
fault.
refugees' fault. The crisis of the bread that happened in Lebanon early this year, suddenly it's because refugees are taking more than one bread. I'm like, now that's the problem?
That's the
We are the problem? What did we do?
It's not like Lebanese people haven't been buying like 10 packets
No.
of bread.
It's
Hoarders.
It's the hypocrisy for me.
So
You know?
I want to ask you about this.
Go
When
ahead.
do you feel that the tensions rise, and where do you feel like, have you at times felt that, okay, we're living in peace and you know what, I sort of feel Lebanese, and then suddenly you feel like something comes up and suddenly all that tension and that racism comes back rushing in? What do you feel has caused that, and can you give us an example of some time that happened and that you struggled to understand or to handle such a situation?
Tensions have always been on the rise in this country, across Lebanese themselves, and more so across Lebanese and refugees. I can easily tell you a lot of examples. However, things have been increasing, specifically with the economic crisis that the country has been going through, a lot. So everything that goes on, the refugees are taking the jobs, whatever jobs are left in the country. And what jobs? We are Palestinians, we can't even, like, we are barred from 72 different jobs. I can name you a few, like lawyers, doctors. I can study for 4 years. Like you're both doctors. I can study for 4 years. I'll do my exams. I'll do everything, but I can't work. I can't open my own practice. I can't have my own clinic.
Yeah, and we did have some Palestinians, a handful of Palestinians
With us in medical
Yeah.
school. So just a quick question.
Yeah.
If you were to acquire another citizenship, can you perform these jobs?
Yes.
So it's just a strict ban on Palestinians and not foreigners as a whole.
100%. And the thing is, the narrative shifts. Sometimes you are considered a foreigner when it's up to paying taxes. So when the idea of like, you know, let's make them pay taxes. If you are a refugee that lives outside of a refugee camp, you are forced to pay taxes, just like everyone else. But when it comes to working, the refugees, they're not foreigners, they cannot. And getting a work permit takes forever. That is, if the interviewer of any job decides, oh, no, I want you. I'm overqualified for a lot of positions. I apply, and then they take a person who's underqualified just because they're Lebanese, they're a national of the country. It's not fair, you know? It's just not fair. I'm not here to steal anyone's job. You know, this misconception. I'm like, yeah, I'm here to steal your job. I'm not here to steal your job. I'm working and I'm spending in the country. I'm trying to help the country. So it just doesn't make any sense that you are treated or like, you know,
Especially-
second-class citizen.
Yeah, and you're paying taxes like everyone else is.
100%.
So
Let me ask you a question. What makes Lebanon better than Israel, our occupying entity, whatever?
nothing.
What makes them better if we're treated as second-class citizens and they're treated as second-class citizens in Palestine? What's the difference?
Yeah, that's very true.
That's a good point to make.
Think
that
about
people
it.
don't see just because we speak Arabic
100%.
and it doesn't make much difference.
And
100%.
I would understand if someone tried to make that point about refugees who have suddenly came into the country, but for people like you and many others who share the same fate, let's say, who were born here and have been
100%.
raised here, and are, I think, practically speaking Lebanese,
Hmm.
but by heart. So the
Look.
question is,
Yeah.
do you deserve to be treated as a Lebanese individual, as a Lebanese citizen? Because that's the
Mm.
whole debate we're trying to
There's-
tackle on this episode.
It's interesting question you point there, but like, if I'm to be honest, the thing is refugees don't want to have the same rights as host countries. I can speak for many, many refugees. What we want is to be treated like human beings. Let us work. We don't want to have the Lebanese passport and have all the privileges like voting rights, all of that. So we don't want this. What we want is just the ability to live, survive like a human being, spend in the country, and we're willing to pay taxes. We're willing to live like everyone else. We are not here to instigate any problems, any fights, and we're not, something has to be pointed out. Recently, they changed a chapter in the book of history for official exam students, grades 9 and 12. They put a chapter on Palestine. The entire world went crazy. Everyone in the country was like, why? Why can't we discuss the civil revolution or whatever? Why are we talking about Palestine? Why should we talk about Palestine? Like, a lot of people were asking that question.
You mean the civil revolution or civil war?
Civil war, sorry.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, I was like, why? What's wrong if it's just one chapter talking about, yes, Palestine was occupied in 1948? What's so wrong about that? We're not discussing parties. We're not discussing political sects.
I think this goes way deeper than what seems to be on the surface.
100%.
Because not recently, but around maybe a year ago, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
the banning on the job, on the ability for refugees, for Palestinian refugees to work, the 72 jobs that we were talking about was lifted, and then shortly afterwards
A political sect.
It was overruled basically.
Yeah.
And maybe this exists because of the problems that were created during the civil war,
100%.
during the Lebanese civil war.
Yeah.
And as maybe some of our listeners, if you weren't Lebanese, wouldn't know this, but the Palestinians were heavily involved in the Lebanese civil war.
A mistake on their end, if you ask me.
Just like any other Lebanese party, everyone was involved in the Lebanese civil war, to be fair.
Why?
And maybe this has
Even the Eskimos were involved.
and this has created very severe tensions across the country, and maybe that is why there's a large portion of the population who is very
Against, if you want.
against any type of
Foreign or
refugee normalization, I'm gonna call it.
100%.
I don't have a word exactly
Yeah.
for it.
But it's not like you ask to be a Palestinian. It's not like you choose your nationality.
Exactly.
That doesn't make, by the way, I'm very proud of who I am as a person. I am proud of myself as a Palestinian, but you have to face the music at some point. And you should tell yourself, well, I didn't choose this. Who would choose to be marginalized?
That's
I
true.
mean, let's be real, okay?
Yeah.
Like, flip a coin. You could be
You
in
just
my
wake
place.
up one day, you know what? I want to be a marginalized individual.
It doesn't make sense. Like, recently my cousin came from Canada. She is the privileged life, okay? She's a refugee and she lives abroad. She's treated like a normal citizen up until, of course, elections in their country. That's not my business, but in general, she has rights. And what happened was, when she came here, she asked specifically, let's go to a refugee camp. I want to go to a refugee camp. And she did. I took her and we walked through, and then she bawled out crying when she saw the way they are being buried. We don't have space to bury our dead. This is how bad, or how much of a violation to human rights, if you may. This is how terrible Palestinians live. Like, it's a terrible situation. They bury each other over each other. They bury their dead over one another. Like, families, extended families, bury their dead over one another. And it's insane.
Can they buy plots of land outside of those designated
No,
for
they
refugee?
cannot. You're not allowed to. You're dead. Good for you. If you find a place to die, great. And sometimes you have to pay money to be able to bury your dead, to have a space to bury your dead. It's that severe. People just don't see this extreme side. People just don't want to look at this side of the spectrum.
And that's why we wanted to have you on this podcast, because there are many things that we take for granted in our daily
100%.
lives.
Like dying, literally dying is the first one.
I mean, I'm giving you this is
simply
like
putting your relatives to rest is
Yeah.
even a problem when you're a refugee.
100%. And it goes beyond this. It's not just jobs, it's not just daily living, it's not just getting money or income. It's about how you're perceived. The amount of mental health issues, psychological issues, chronic diseases, whatever you want to call it, it's just escalating and increasing because it's correlated to the living conditions that the Palestinians are living in. This is a socio-demographical thing. Like, we need to understand that this is an actual fact. The more people live in crowded places, the more people don't have access to medications, the more people are marginalized and sidelined, the more they are subject to discrimination from all levels, health-related, social-related, everything. So it's like you're cornered, you know? I don't feel it necessarily on a deeper level as my, family that lives in camps, but it hurts. It hurts when you go in and you see them like living on rocks. They are in rocks as houses. It's not even a house where you have lighting.
All right, so let's de-escalate
Okay.
and go back to some more superficial topics.
Yeah.
You were mentioning family, and then we'll go back to the deep stuff at the end of the podcast so that we can prime our listeners slowly.
Yep. Go ahead.
You were talking about family. What's your identity with your family members? You said you have family members that live in the camps,
Yeah.
family members that live outside of the camps. Do you have
100%.
Lebanese relatives, or is it just Palestinian relatives?
We have extended Lebanese relatives who just, were Palestinian. And then they, at some point, they got the Jordanian passport. And because they have the Jordanian passport, they were legal to apply for the Lebanese passport, and now they're considered Lebanese. They have completely
How
forgone
they apply for the Lebanese citizenship?
because they had got the Jordanian passport.
But that doesn't make. So if you get another passport, you can apply and receive the citizenship. Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, basically, that's what happened to a lot of our relatives. And they forgot what Palestine is. And so it's like when we used to sit for like November 29, it's the Solidarity Day with the Palestinian cause, So I used to sit with my family, my close family. It's fine. When the extended family comes in, it doesn't feel the same. It feels like they don't care, to say the least. And you can't communicate with them. There's nothing. It's
They
just
probably
empty.
celebrate November 29.
I mean, I don't
Instead
know.
of-
It's supposed to be a day of solidarity with your own people. We have to, I don't know how to say this, but we have to remember these days and like internalize them and then say, okay, imagine if I was on the other end. What would happen? I mean, I could have been, if my family didn't flee in 1948, I could have been there, right? But not everyone in my family relates, like specifically the people who have other passports. They don't relate, they don't care. They're like, okay, it's not us,
So a portion of your family has been maybe distancing
100%.
themselves from the Palestinian
Cause, yeah.
not just cause, Palestinian identity in general. What about the others, more hardline family members? What about the other extreme on the spectrum?
The extreme side of the spectrum, the people who raise the flags and then they open Ghassan Kanafani poets and then it's a different end. Like, they tell you all the stories. You feel like you're empowered to go fight for your own cause. And then this dies down because the other days it's just plateau, high spikes and then you go back to normal.
Is this you or is
No.
your family?
It's the family, like the family in general. When it comes to remembering, Solidarity Day, remembering the day that the Nakba started, first one, the second one, and hopefully we're going to a third. But for the first two, like, you're supposed to remember these days. You're supposed to commemorate them. Yeah, and some part of the family doesn't, the other part extremely does, and goes hard, and then at some point they die down. So like, even you have spikes in this. I understand, but it's supposed to be every day because we have Palestinians dying every single day, outside Palestine and inside Palestine.
Let me just comment on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would understand why people actually spike in these causes,
Instances.
because the Palestinian cause isn't exactly a happy
Yeah.
cause.
Yeah.
And
So for how long can you carry these burdens
Yeah.
and these how long can you carry these sorrows with you?
And I like to compare this to Ashura for Shia,
Yeah.
because some people, even among the Shiites, or among the Shia, they tend to grieve for prolonged periods of time for Ashura.
Yeah.
And I think, not everyone can stay sad 365 days a
A
year.
year, yeah.
That's really, I think that's bad for your health.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's supposed to be like that, even for any cause, even the Palestinian cause. So I think there is a time for remembrance. There should always be a time for remembrance, but there should also be times in your life where you're supposed to be happy.
Yeah.
A
Live
time
your
for
life.
joy.
You mean live your life, live in the
Yeah.
present. I get it.
Not completely, but,
But yeah, I mean,
you understand what I mean.
not indulge yourself fully, but you shouldn't completely forget about the cause. There are two extremes. You have to find the balanced ground. Like, I go out, let's say, and people can tell from my accent in Arabic that you're not fully Lebanese. I mean, I'm Palestinian. Oh, you're not fully Palestinian either. It's not the case. My parents are both Palestinians. My grandparents are Palestinians. Yes, we are fully Palestinians. It's just because I didn't live in a camp, that doesn't mean I'm not worthy of remembering my own country.
So where do you find yourself on the spectrum? We talked about the two extremes, the ones who are forgetting their identity and the ones who are very, very Palestinian, let's say.
Yeah, it fluctuates. It really fluctuates. Like, at sometimes you want to be on the extreme side of the spectrum. At other times it hurts so bad to just continuously look at the news and see what's happening in Palestine that you really would wish just for one single second that you don't have to see this. You don't have to relate so much. I wish I could I'd say I'm in the middle. I'm not. It fluctuates 100%. And it just feels like I don't belong to either end. I'm floating, you're floating. And I believe a lot of Palestinians who lived in the same conditions that I did have the same feeling. I had an incident that happened at university. I was very vocal about my Palestinian identity in university because I found my people.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have that when I was younger. So when you found your club of the Palestinian Cultural Club at AUB, I found my people. I found people I relate to, and I felt so small even then because they were residents of refugee camps. They were raised with the stories of Ghassan Kanafani, Naji Ali, all these artists, these poets, these authors. They lived the trauma of their parents directly. So it was transcended to them. And then I was like, okay, so I know general headlines. I don't know the specifics. So it feels like, okay, I don't belong. Sometimes I would remain purposefully quiet, not to say anything when they're having a group chat discussion. Or when we are in a group with other Palestinian members and they're sharing, we had a person who came from Gaza, literally from Gaza. And I was like, how did you even come here? Imagine that you don't even know that you can leave. I didn't know that you can leave. So even if I know so much about the Palestinian cause, I still feel like I fall short. So I don't belong to either. That's why I feel like I'm floating. It really depends. A situation that happened at university, I had one of my friends who looked left and right and then was like, by the way, I'm also Palestinian. Are you serious? It's not like you have AIDS, okay? It's not like you have an autoimmune disease. You can say it out loud.
Guys, even if you have, you can say it out loud.
Yeah, you can
Don't
say it out loud regardless, but it's a taboo in this country.
Yeah, so it's not a taboo.
It's not a taboo, you can say it, but I mean, why are you hiding?
I've even heard stories of people being in relationships for long periods of time and then someone acts Lebanese and then that their partner finds out that they were actually Palestinian and then there's a big falling out.
Yeah.
So that stuff happens and that's why people are afraid of saying it at times because there is racism.
100%.
And there's systemic and internalized all types.
Yeah, but let's rewind a bit. It's on both ends. It's not just the host community's problem. It's also the Palestinians. I can speak from personal experience. I'm engaged to a Lebanese, basically. So my dad was like, when he first learned that he's Lebanese, I thought we were gonna have full Palestinian blood, Baba. That's what he said to me. I'm like, the heart wants what it wants, Dad. What can I say? I mean, my dad wanted to have Palestinian children, and then they marry Palestinians. We marry from our own families, from our own nationality. I'm like, that's not reasonable. You live in a host country. I'm exposed to everyone. And on the other end, I've heard stories of people who will never marry a Palestinian or Syrian because they're refugees. And they believe that, I mean, you're dirty. The kids that I'm going to get, they're going to have bad genes because of you. What? It's not like I determine the genes of the kids. It's
lots of interesting takes in this episode.
It's crazy. But I mean, it's a trauma for a lot of families, like a lot of hardcore Lebanese families, like only Lebanese, you only marry Lebanese. And we have that on the Palestinian end as well. Only Palestinian, and specifically only from the village that you were from 1948. So yeah, interesting.
Yeah, well, you guys aren't alone on this. Even Lebanese people do this amongst themselves.
100%. So I think there's more that joins us than separates us, and I wish people would understand that. You know?
All right. So we've discussed a lot of important things, but I have just one very special topic I want to discuss here, and it's traveling.
Oh, yeah.
So how do you guys travel? What documents do you have, and how easy or difficult it is
we
it
need
for
to
you
like
guys
lift the shirt up for this one. This is
to go to play to different countries?
Okay, so it really depends on where you are. So I'm a Palestinian refugee in Lebanon. There are Palestinian refugees in Jordan, Palestinian refugees in Syria. It's just difficult. I know from our case, and I know the Syrian case. So the Palestinians living in Lebanon, refugees in Lebanon, we don't have a passport. We have a document, a travel document, okay? It looks the same as a Lebanese passport, but it's written down there like for Palestinian refugees residing in Lebanon. Leaving the Lebanese airport is perfectly fine. You reach your destination, okay? Once you reach your destination, you are thoroughly checked at the airports. And they check if your visa is actually valid and how did you get your visa. You're asked extensive questions that just don't make sense. Why are you here? Are you planning to, elope, leave your country and just, reside here in secret?
Are these considered one of those random
random security check?
Oh no, I personally had it multiple times. I've never went into any country, and I travel a lot.
Yeah, it's just a random security check every single time.
Every single time,
yeah. It's just random.
100%.
You should go buy the lottery ticket at these odds.
I mean, yeah, maybe. I'll give you a recent example. I'm applying for a visa to Dubai, okay? So my visa came out very quickly this time, which is amazing. This is the first time in forever. My younger brother's visa came out very quickly. The one in the middle, my middle brother, and he's like, he waited 72 hours to get his visa, and then he waited more, and then it's like, okay, we had to call the travel agency. What's up? Why is he the one, like, because he's older, he has a beard, and then he's Palestinian, so he has to like wait longer. Everyone got the visa. Every single one of us got the visa except for him.
Next time you should shave his beard.
Shave the beard. I mean, it doesn't make sense. I mean, just because he's the age, he's Palestinian, he has a beard, question marks? It's just, I think it pushes the narrative further, the Western narrative further, and it's just not fair, That's my perspective on it. Like, you should be able to travel. I mean, if you want to be this strict with us, why not be strict with everyone? Have a very strict check everyone policy. I wouldn't complain. I'm not complaining about the standards. I'm just complaining why they're applied to me, not to everyone else.
Can you apply for like a long-term visa for any place? Can you like move to a different country, or are you bound by Lebanon's borders?
Well, right now, currently, I am bound to Lebanon's borders unless I get a job offer outside and then they sponsor your work visa, but that's a very low chance because of my refugee status. You see where I'm hinting at? Because of your low refugee status, you're not like, there's not a set law where you cannot apply abroad and live abroad, but it's going to take you much longer because of your refugee status. The background checks take way longer for a refugee.
So how would you, and I'm sorry to say this, but how do you get rid of your refugee status?
You can't unless you, I guess, invest in another passport, if possible. Most people don't have the means to do this. I said they live in refugee camps. They're poor. You either invest in a Caribbean country or you just buy it. You either invest in land or whatever.
Or
in
you
a
marry
country.
someone with a different
Or you
nationality.
marry someone. But personally, I would not give up my Palestinian identity for anyone. I would not just for Lebanon, for any other country. I don't think I can hold the passport and say, yeah, I'm a citizen of this country. A country that has systemically,
All right,
discriminated
let's
against
take
me.
a quick break,
Yes.
and we'll be back after the break. All right, we're back after the break.
Hello.
So, Leen, we've discussed a lot of heavy topics,
Very heavy.
heavy subtopics in this very big topic, and I wanted to end on a very not good note, but just take a very
Very not good.
very not good note. on a
Oh my
on a
God.
serious note,
Yes.
what do you think the Palestinians in Lebanon should be given so that they feel more fairly treated, let's say?
Just treat them as human beings, as if you just met this person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, strip them from the idea of yeah, this is a Palestinian. Let's, put them as a target of hate. No, just treat them as any fellow human being you would treat. I mean, I would treat you normally. You treat me normally, right? You don't consider, oh my God, she's Palestinian. The plague, I'm not the plague.
Yeah.
So that's basically it. We just want to be treated as equal citizens. You want we still want to retain our identities. We're not asking to vote on all that stuff. We just want to work normally, like any other human beings. You go back to your houses. You don't have to face discrimination, marginalization, all of these big words.
So the most important thing is, first of all, to be able to work.
Yeah.
Remove the ban on many occupations in Lebanon, because
100%.
I don't think that it's logical for anyone to ban refugees who were born, who were raised in Lebanon, and who have a very, very similar, not exactly identical, but very similar identity to most Lebanese people. So they should, I think, have the right to work. That's a basic need.
100%.
And to live with dignity, for sure.
Live with dignity.
There you go.
So going back to the whole, they can't even bury their dead properly in Lebanon. I think they should be given these rights. They should be able to go about their business just like any other citizen is able to go about their business every day. However, this does come at a cost. I mean, if you want to be considered as a Palestinian refugee, and if you want to maintain your Palestinian identity,
Yeah.
this would come at a cost as not being a Lebanese citizen 100%. You can't
Yeah, but
vote, as you said.
exactly, but that's not the goal. We said we want to retain our identity, but just be able to, talk to people without having this fear of, oh my God, they're gonna look down on me because I'm Palestinian, or you walk as if it's a shameful identity. That's not the case. We should you treat foreigners very well. Why? Imagine the refugee is a foreigner as well. Like, treat them equally. you know, just people. They're people. That's it. Yeah.
And if you wanted to send a message,
Yeah.
or to say a final message to the people who are very anti-Palestinian, who hate Palestinian refugees, what would you tell them?
Yeah, it's quite simple. Imagine if you were on this side of the spectrum. Imagine if you're in my shoes. I mean, I'm not that different. I don't come from a camp, but like it starts from here. Imagine you are in my shoes, and then imagine you are in the shoes of a person who's actually come from a camp, a refugee camp. But try to relate. Try to see. Well, yeah. Imagine you strip yourself from all these concepts that your parents gave you. The Palestinians did this. The Palestinians did that. Ignore that. That happened in the history. Everyone is at fault at some place. But here, right now, you and me, I didn't do anything to you. You didn't do anything to me. So why can't we, put all the bigotry on the side and just discuss? Talk to each other. Like, try to not be blinded or put on the lenses of hate. Like, no, let's remove them. Let's see this person as a human being in front of us, and let's have a civil discussion.
Yeah.
We're capable of doing that, can't we?
And remove the bigoted hate that some
Yeah.
people have against Palestinians.
Because it's
Mhm.
becoming as if it's like, hereditary. I mean, I take it from my parents, you take it from your great-grandparents. Come on, we weren't there in the 1970s. We don't know what actually happened. So let's just forget that part and let's say they did this back in that day, but you weren't born back in that day. I mean, I didn't do anything to you, me, right now. I didn't do anything to you. Look at us, we're sitting, we're having a casual conversation. Did I hurt you? No, honestly.
Don't answer that.
Hopefully not. I'm kidding.
We're friends.
I'm kidding. Yes, Leen is top lad.
Thank you. So yeah, just like that. I mean, let's see ourselves as people who are living on this land. Try to be equitable to a certain extent. We're not asking for too much. I'm sitting right here with you. We're having a civil conversation. We're discussing things.
Hopefully, we will have many more as well.
Yes, inshallah. Hopefully, we're hoping
Right.
for that.
And what message would you send to the people who are on the opposite side of the spectrum, to the Palestinians who are themselves bigoted against Lebanese people who have been affected by their upbringing, by their experiences of, let's say, racism in Lebanon, and have become,
Yeah.
let's say, racist and hateful themselves towards
Spiteful.
Spiteful.
Yep. I mean, again, they're trying to be. You're doing the exact same thing, so you're not better at any point. I mean, don't you want to be part of the solution instead of part of the problem? So just try to find ways where you can navigate or steer away from all these issues that can cause conflict. For example, let's say any political party you're part of, just don't open politics, don't open religion-related topics. These things cause a lot of issues because people are very firmly held in their beliefs and very firmly held in their political ideologies. Just navigate through that. Talk about other things. Try your best to not enforce your ideas, because I've seen it happen from the other spectrum. Like, we try to enforce, yes, you have to love Palestine, otherwise you're not Arabs, you are a disgrace to Arabs. Wait a minute, people just sometimes need to relate to be able to support your cause. So you try to understand them just for them to be able to understand you as well. So just try to find the middle ground and navigate through the, trauma, I guess, that's been caused, because there's a way out of this if we work together. I truly believe that.
All right. Any last messages you'd like to send, Mu'taz?
Yes.
Before we end.
Eat more hummus, guys.
I mean, that's a national Arab
Mu'taz
dish.
has spoken. Eat more hummus. Very, very strong message for this podcast.
That should be the caption of your YouTube
And
video.
consume more Oriental scoop.
Of course.
Love this podcast, you guys.
This is going to be one of many podcasts or episodes that are going to be included in a playlist called
Tales from Lebanon.
Tales from Lebanon. These episodes are going to be heavier than your usual funny light episodes. Our rants are special rants. But they tackle, I think, very important issues in our country. Thank you, Leen.
Like and
for
subscribe.
Thank you, Leen, for coming. It was really a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. Nice seeing you guys.
And I'd
discussing
like
this.
to especially thank the 50 mothers that followed us on Instagram. Please send more mothers our way.
Share them Friday morning to your WhatsApp groups. Good morning.
Sabah al khair.
Good morning.
Good morning, sunshine.
Send the link.
I'll have the link to our Instagram in the description. Also, for those of you who are on Instagram seeing this reel right now, please go over to our YouTube, check out our very heavy and very serious episode. Very interesting too. And that's it. Peace.
Peace.
Good night.
Bye.